Hello again, guys, and here we have another inbox review from Alfa model. This is the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. This one is in 1:24 scale, as most are, with the resin kits provided from Alfa model. And as you can see, brand new, unopened box. As is usual, our vast amounts of bubble wrap in it. We also have our instruction manual, our body, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bags of resin parts, and at the bottom we have some of the wood screws to attach the body, chassis, and interior, and our photo etch, and brass, and decals. So we'll get this all kind of cleaned up, and then we'll go through each and every bag to show you what it all contains. So as per usual, we'll start off with our lovely instructions here from Alfa Romeo. Very clear, very concise, but again lacks a lot of the usual multi-page books that kind of show you exactly where everything goes and then shows you an after of where it went, that sort of thing. So some things could be left up to the imagination, but that's the whole point of an inbox and then a build afterwards. So we've got all our resin parts here, all labeled by part and or by tree. We've got some brass or aluminum turned parts, the screws to attach the chassis, the base plate essentially, when the interior is inside of the body. Keeps it all nice and tight, you don't have to glue it. Interesting concept, as it were. We've also got our photo etch sheets, so we've got some thinner steel, some thicker stuff, and then we also have the brass piece with the belts. Again, with these generation of kits, I'm not a huge fan of the brass. I wish they stuck with fabric, but is what it is. You can also go and buy your own wrap to be able to, do whatever color you want. And then, as always, we've got some decals for the Alfa Romeo, and we've got some metal transfers for the mirrors and rear view mirror, and then our clear acetate for the windows. And then we've got the basic interior build, so a lot of parts going into the dashboard, then all of the seats and door cards going in, which finishes off with some photo etch parts on the actual seats themselves. Then we have the kind of exterior going on, so we've got the taillights, diffuser, rear valence, and all that going in. Some of the front grills here, clear parts, photo etch, all that jazz. And then it finishes off with adding the hubs for the wheels, brakes, photo etch for that, wheels, tires, all that fun jazz. If you've seen any of the other inbox reviews for Alfa models before, you'll know that it's pretty much the same thing throughout all of them. Pretty simple, put together. The level of detail lies in your painting and building skills. So, and then with that, finishes off with all of the decal placements for the Alfa Romeo or the Giulia. So we'll put that off to the side, and we'll start with the body. Now, as per usual, the bodies are well packaged with bubble wrap, and this one is no different. However, this one's been rolled in a larger bag rather than it being two separate bags, which is different. And then our chassis, interior, and body all come kind of packaged as one. So base plate for the chassis, pretty clean, pretty plain. You're not going to see it underneath the car. Don't need to make it super fancy. Interior, as always, the seats, we've got good panel lines. in there for the different cushions, and then it's difficult to make out, but right along a lot of the inseams here, there seems to be some double stitching kind of pattern going on, which I really, really like. I wish that was maybe a thing more, if they could get a little bit more fine and do those on the rest of the actual seat itself. Rear deck lid, molded in pedals, which is interesting. Most of the time that's usually a photo etch flap, and then there's photo etch pedals that go on top of it. Different, okay. And of course our nice solid resin body, and as most of you may know or may not know, the reason for that is you make the resin thicker. Yes, it takes longer to dry. Yes, it's a more difficult molding process. However, over time, when the resin starts to shrink and lose its moisture content, it won't buckle or break because there's a lot of extra resin supporting it. So just keep that in mind when you're building your next resin kit, that, you know, Alfa Model builds them so that they last a lot longer. Even though a lot of our cameras now can take some very, very nice pictures, it's always nice to have the physical thing there with you. But just a little tip and trick in mind. One of the other things that Alfa Model does really well here is, again, with the interior. So we've got some handle loops in there as well, which is great for this vehicle. The pillars, the roof, it's all got scale thickness. It's not just like a piece of plastic and then it looks thin. It's actually got some depth to it, so when you actually rotate the car around, you know, there's a depth to the A pillar, there's depth to the B pillars, there's texture in the roof. If you get, you know, a close-up shot like that, you know, it just adds to the photogenics of the actual model itself. You know, makes it more realistic, more lifelike. But other than that, all the other panel lines are super crisp, nice and deep. So those are going to take a panel line wash really well. You know, the sensor cutouts in the bumper and the front and rear bumpers, all lovely and sharp and detailed. As this is kind of like, you know, a regular touring sedan, there's not a whole lot of extensive body lines, but just the overall appearance and style of the Giulia is just something to marvel at, which is probably why they chose to do it. But very nice body as usual from Alfa Model. So I'm just going to throw the interior in there quick, and then throw the base plate on right after that. And then afterwards these will just get screwed down. Super easy. Alright, first set of parts in the box. You know, I won't go into too much depth with this, but we've got a lot of the interior parts here. So we've got sort of the center console. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit more so you can see. So you've got the center console here. You know, very plain, very bland, but it is what it is for the vehicle. What looks like a rear diffuser or a front splitter of some sort. I think that's the front splitter. We've got our dashboard here. Again, the molding style keeps all those sharp, small accents and details here that you just don't normally get anywhere else, which is nice. And then that, you can probably make it out there if I get the shadow right. Yeah, that double stitching pattern, as was evident on the back seats, is also evident on the dash here. So if you've got, you know, colored stitching going on and you put a wash in there that's colorized, or like an oil wash, that'll bring out the detail of that quite nicely. Door cards, again, super straightforward, nicely detailed, good depth to them, all that fun jazz. Rear diffuser, well, you just might want to be careful with the rakes here because they are super thin and delicate. And you've got the seats, again with some of that double stitching pattern on them. Those will take a wash, an oil wash really well, and then detailed on both back and front. So depending on how you photograph the model. So with the next bag, I'm not really going to go into taking out too many parts because they're all very small and quite delicate, but just to give you an idea of the molding process here, there's the door handles for inside and outside, all molded one piece with the key entrance detail there, looking super sharp, super nice, especially with the I don't know if you can tell, but how deep that that panel line goes, where the door handle actually comes out. It almost looks like it's fully see-through, but it's almost 70% the way through that actual part itself. So the amount of control it has, that Alfa model puts into it, is extraordinary. And this one also, we've got some other small bits for the intakes, the brakes, the exhaust tips, other little fiddly bits like that I'm not going to empty out too much, but just know that they're all there. Our wheels, nicely detailed, nicely molded. Might need a little bit of cleanup of flashing on the insides of those spokes, but very nice crisp detail going on there. Beautiful design on them too, I must say. And then some standard Pirellis. Last two kind of resin boxes we've got here. So we've got our what looks to be our gear lever, and that turned aluminum piece with the seatbelt buckles, all individually molded to a high degree of detail, as you might be able to see there, which is great for showing off those close-up inside shots. We've got our clear parts here that I'm going to leave in the clear bag so that they don't get damaged, but very nice clear parts there. With our final bag, we've got our decals and metal transfers in here. We've got some of the door framing, brakes, and license plates going on there. We had the windows hidden behind it. Some grills and vents. We've also got some more grills and vents going on here as well. Some very fine detail there, so just make sure your paint is thin and it'll capture all that detail. Some seatbelt buckles and badge frames for the exterior and the wheels. Our name plate here, where you can have your name that you built it etched in, or if you're building this for a customer, you can have it self-etched in for that. And then the ever so dreaded brass belts that are, there's a little bit thinner than the last few, but still it's going to be a real pain to try and paint. But then our windshield wipers there are also in this brass piece, so that should be interesting to have that as a brass, because normally they come as like a steel piece like on here. Right, so we've got our focus. We've got the rest of the pieces. The blades, I believe, those are the arms, and then the brass parts are actually the blades here. So should be interesting to see with that having being brass. And of course our clear acetate windows that are pre-cut. They're kind of just held in here ever so slightly, so just a light pass of the blade will get them to release, and then you've got your clear backing on both sides to protect that until it's the last final minute going in. And that about does it, guys. So here's the finished inbox review for the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio, and should be seeing this come up in the build process soon if and when I get to it between other client builds. If you want me to put a rush on it, don't be afraid to shout out in the comments below and let me know. If you've got other concerns or questions, again, feel free to ask out in the comments and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. So we'll see you guys in the next build/inbox review. Thanks for watching and have a good one.